on. What I could have done better is a lot of things. 100%.
His punches, where, you know, like the first few rounds, he throws very few punches.
He's just measuring. He's a computer, man.
Yep.
He's just getting the data on you, faking you, taking pictures of everything you're doing. Then
People will criticise you for going 6 rounds with Jake Paul. How do you feel about that?
I deserve it.
Why? Come on.
Because, like, we're elite fighters.
Joe Rogan was left completely stunned after Anthony Joshua allegedly revealed the inner workings of a Jake Paul fight contract. What fans often see as a straightforward crossover boxing match turned out to be highly calculated and tightly controlled behind the scenes. According to reports, Joshua detailed a clause as restrictions and hidden leverage built into these agreements, showing that these bouts aren't just about skill in the ring. They're about business control, protection, and shaping the narrative. Once Joshua's revelations came to light, it became obvious why many professional fighters have quietly avoided stepping into the ring with Jake Paul.
Stage, and you hear him saying everything he says. Bearing in mind the journey you've been on, everything you've done, do you just think this guy's deluded?
Nah. Look, an amateur coming into the game with no experience, he's taking on some good names. They may be old, they may be from different combats in terms of MMA and so on, but he's got in the ring at a decent level, fought Tommy Fury and so on, so he believes in himself. I take it seriously, I respect it.
Yeah, but their levels, come on, AJ.
Yeah, there are, but it's all about on the night. The levels that I carried last year and the year before and the year after that will not win me this fight. What will win me this fight is performing on the night. And I have to respect my opponent. If I underestimate him, I give him a chance. And that's...
The highly anticipated bout, billed as Judgment Day, took place over the scheduled 8 3-minute rounds in the heavyweight division, with Anthony Joshua entering as the clear favorite thanks to his size and elite experience. Standing 6 feet 6 inches and weighing around 243 pounds compared to Jake Paul's 216 pounds, Joshua gradually asserted his dominance after a cautious start. By the 5th round, he had knocked Paul down multiple times, ultimately ending the contest in the 6th with a devastating knockout at 131, landing a crushing right hand that sent Paul to the canvas and forced the referee to stop the fight.
Anthony Joshua. Paul was sturdy for the first couple of rounds, but as the fight went on, the more experienced Joshua began to take control. After continuously connecting in the 5th round, it was only a matter of time before it was over. In the 6th, Joshua went on to knock out Paul with a big right hand. Joshua improved his career record to 29-4 now. Paul loses for the 2nd time in his career to go along with...
Jake Paul's strategy against Anthony Joshua revolved around movement, speed, and evading Joshua's power for as long as possible. Before the fight, Paul made it clear that he planned to rely on his agility and footwork, circling constantly, maintaining distance, and forcing Joshua to chase him around the ring in hopes of wearing down the former heavyweight champion and surviving all 8 rounds. Both Paul and his team emphasized avoiding a single fight-ending punch, instead counting on cardio, angles, and constant motion to last the distance. The approach was straightforward. Keep moving, frustrate Joshua, and avoid a direct clash with a heavier, more experienced puncher.
The game plan from both guys from round 1. Jake was very mobile. I mean, he had the happy feet going. He was circling around the outside of the ring. He was not looking to engage in elongated combinations. He was not looking to stand in the center of the ring with AJ, and people are going to say Jake ran from AJ, and you're right. Because guess why? He absolutely had to. Again, we talked about this in the build-up to the fight. He had to be mobile. He had to be on his bike. So yes, you're justified in saying Jake ran from him because he had to. He had to. And anybody that convinced themselves that Jake was going to walk to the center of the ring, stand in the phone booth with AJ, and trade punches until someone laid flat, you were lying to yourself, or you convinced yourself of something you saw in the promo. This was always going to be the way the fight went. I wasn't surprised at all that this is the way that Jake started and pretty much fought the entire time. I was a bit surprised that AJ didn't assert himself earlier. Now, again, it is very hard to hurt someone that doesn't want to engage in a continuous fight. Round 1, very much a feeling out process for AJ. Didn't really look like he did much, but Jake didn't either. There was one right hand that AJ landed in the 1st round that shook Jake up. That's the danger that was coming for Jake the entirety of the fight. The 2nd and 3rd rounds were pretty much the same. A bit of a mixed bag in terms of Jake tried to get on his jab more. He did land some jabs that snapped the head back of AJ and landed some right hands, but this was all calculated risk for AJ as well, because he knew as long as he turned that faucet on and let the water run and let it fill up the sink and never turned the faucet off, that eventually he would drown Jake, right? So every round it was pressure, front foot, front foot, front foot, and AJ strategically breaking down Jake's gas tank. I will say I'm pretty let down by the fact that AJ didn't cut the ring. I was shocked that he didn't go to the body more. I was shocked that he didn't set up his punches more, didn't get his head off the center line more. It was not a great performance from AJ, but at the same time, AJ had just come off a loss. AJ had just come off surgery. I'm not making excuses, but it was.
Legendary ring announcer Michael Buffer shared his perspective on the impact of Jake and Logan Paul in modern boxing, emphasizing how the brothers have injected new energy into the sport. He noted that their ability to captivate younger audiences, who might not have been interested in boxing otherwise, has broadened the sport's appeal through compelling storylines, building anticipation, and generating massive excitement. The Paul brothers have expanded boxing's reach. While critics may question the legitimacy of crossover bouts, Buffer highlighted that their influence is undeniable, drawing new fans and boosting mainstream attention, ultimately creating greater engagement and media coverage for the sport.
Jake and Logan, first of all, are fantastic athletes. You know what Logan does with the WWE and what Jake does with boxing. He knocks people out and everything. And they both have massive fan bases. And for me, it's great to see people get young people that follow them that didn't have, like, they don't remember Ali or Joe Frazier or whatever. It's not in their wheelhouse. So it's great to see them developing fight fans and a big fight atmosphere. So it's very exciting.
These two stood face to face, and the comment section on the internet was going crazy. They were like, call the ambulance now, basically. Like, Anthony Joshua looks dangerous standing next to him.
Anthony Joshua is, at this time, and has been for years, the biggest puncher in boxing. He's a devastating puncher. So I got to give Jake a lot of credit for wanting to take this fight.
Yeah, it's not. A lot of people saying it's not smart. If he somehow was able to surprise the world, what does this do for him?
The word would be surprised if he shocked the world. But that's exactly why you got to give him credit. He wants to do it. He trains hard, he works hard, and he has a lot of faith in himself. So we'll see what happens.
Technically, though, what's the biggest concern for you? What's the biggest tip you can give Jake, knowing that you've watched Anthony so many times now?
After the fight, Anthony Joshua was candid and introspective about his performance. Although he secured a 6th-round knockout, he felt it wasn't his best display and believed he could have performed at a higher level. Joshua acknowledged struggling early to land clean punches and noted that he couldn't trap Jake Paul as quickly as anticipated. While he recognized the victory, he described it as a win, but not a complete success, emphasizing that there's still significant room for improvement in his game.
What I could have done better is a lot of things, 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's going to happen? I'm going to see a time when I'm going to take your soul and you're either going to give up or you're going to get knocked out. And unless you have that instinct, you just will never be a good fighter. So I wish...
Despite the knockout, Eddie Hearn acknowledged Jake Paul's effort, but offered a measured perspective. He noted that while Paul showed some toughness, the result was never really in doubt. Hearn emphasized that few expected Paul to endure long against a fighter of Anthony Joshua's caliber, and making it into the 6th round reflected more on his durability than technical skill. He highlighted the clear gap between social media crossover fighters and elite professionals, stressing that while lasting multiple rounds was noteworthy, Joshua's experience and power ultimately controlled the fight.
First 2 or 3 rounds, a little bit frustrating because you've been out of the ring for a year and a half and you've got a guy that's just running around the ring, and you can say you've got to cut him off, but when they're moving at that kind of speed and they're holding up close, but his clinching was quite good, Jake. Listen, I'm not saying he's going to go and win a world title, but he just fought Anthony Joshua and went 5 and a bit rounds. So, respect to him, and it was good to get some rounds in, to be honest with you. He's got a new team. If it would have gone 45 seconds, maybe people would have been more impressed, but we wouldn't really have got any ring time. So we've got that, and now it's a case of when we're at next.
You described Jake as average a few years ago. What's your assessment of him now?
Decent. If you listen to what I said in the build-up, I said he used to be average, now I think he's decent. And the same. I think he's like a top 50 cruiserweight in the world. Top 50, top 60 cruiserweight in the world. So, yeah, and look, like I said, I hope he's okay. 4-0 to Matchroom over MVP. We're friends now, so respect to him.
And your message for
Fury, listen, we'll see you.
After the fight, Ryan Garcia took to social media with a blunt and provocative reaction that quickly grabbed attention in the boxing world. While acknowledging Jake Paul's effort, Garcia drew a sharp comparison to another top boxer, Gervonta Davis, tweeting that he believed Davis would have handled Paul even more decisively than Joshua did. Many analysts echoed Garcia's sentiment, arguing that the matchup lacked elite-level competition. Criticism of the fight continues, with some observers maintaining that the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul bout should never have taken place.
I mean, look, fair play to Jake Paul. He has a lot of guts, and the fact that he wasn't carried out of this fight on a stretcher, certainly I guess you can say is a positive. But what did I think about this? What did I think about Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul? Look, it felt like Anthony Joshua carried him. It felt like Jake Paul brought in as much of a negative anti-style as possible, circling away, constantly holding Joshua, constantly falling to the ground. Again, while you're certainly going to give respect for the YouTube star turned fighter for having the guts to put on this type of show and to stand in there for as long as he did until a clean right hand in the corner when Paul was absolutely exhausted, dropped him and ended the fight. This is not elite boxing. And we knew that coming in, but if these fights are going to be sanctioned as official fights, like the Mike Tyson fight from last year, like this one, how much longer is the appetite for the...
Before the fight, Deontay Wilder added fuel to the debate by raising questions about the integrity of the matchup, suggesting that contractual arrangements might influence the outcome. Wilder implied that, like some past spectacle-style fights, entertainment and financial interests could overshadow true competition, with the favorite fighter in the deal likely emerging victorious. His comments sparked further discussion in the boxing community, as fans debated whether Jake Paul's rapid rise is driven more by promotional agreements than by pure athletic skill and merit.
Asked Deontay Wilder, who does he think will win the fight? And he said, whatever's in the contract for the person to win, that's who will win. And let me counterpunch. What Wilder is saying is what a lot of people are fearing, right? The Jake Paul FDA that, hey, he has to win each and every fight has been one of those things that has been lingering around in the boxing world, as we've seen about Mike Tyson, and Mike Tyson seeing him pulling punches or appeared to be pulling punches and not really trying to fight Jake Paul. And I reminded people that it was an exhibition. And despite how it was billed and what Mike promised to do, I think none of those guys were just trying to hurt each other. I think Jake Paul was actually just trying to, just share the ring with a legend. You know what I mean? To be honest, he made sure he won, sure, but, he didn't try to go out of his way to hurt Mike like he did, like he dropped Anderson Silva or he knocked out.
Jake Paul's growing confidence in the boxing world has sparked skepticism among many experienced analysts. Critics argue that his belief in taking on a fighter like Anthony Joshua is overly ambitious, given Joshua's decorated career, extensive training, championship experience, and proven endurance. Observers have pointed out differences in physique and performance, suggesting Paul may rely more on speed or other advantages, while Joshua combines natural size, strength, and skill that is hard to match. This gap has led both fans and professionals to question Paul's readiness for such a monumental challenge. The debate has intensified due to the enormous financial stakes tied to the fight, with complex contracts and massive payouts often influencing more than just a matchup. Comments from Deontay Wilder have drawn attention to how behind-the-scenes arrangements could potentially affect outcomes in ways fans rarely consider. While the notion of a predetermined result is disputed, the controversy has pushed analysts and viewers to scrutinize the business motives driving the bout, raising ongoing questions about transparency, intent, and competitive integrity.
Jake Paul natural? No. I can say that with pretty certain confidence in that statement, mainly because, as you heard me mention, I know a lot of the people he trains with and I have heard things. Now let's give Jake the benefit of the doubt, right? He's able to restrain from the peer pressure that everyone's putting on him to hop on these certain compounds. Then that would be cool to train natural, do what he needs to do. But the thing is, his body composition has changed so much, his explosiveness, his power, and yes, that comes with training and time. But I find it very, very suspicious that for some reason, whenever a drug test gets brought up, for instance, when Fury wanted that in the contract, Jake Paul turns them down. So you should think to yourself, it's probably because he's not natural. Now I want to make it clear, I don't care whether Jake Paul is natural or not. There's so many people that aren't natural that are in combat sports. In fact, Tyron Woodley probably is also not natural. Everyone wants that little edge over their competition, and that's where drugs and anabolics come into play. There's certain compounds that are out there that just increase your explosiveness immensely, your recovery, so that you can stay in the same weight class, which is very important for combat sports, whether that's boxing, UFC, whatever type of combat sport you're doing. So that is why you guys have seen so much improvement from Jake Paul. Of course, he has a great circle around him, great trainers, great coaches, a great regimen, but definitely anabolics play a very fundamental role in that. They allow him to train as hard as he does. They allow him to increase his power and speed. And of course, when you think of those concepts, that's essentially the recipe to...
Joe Rogan has voiced strong doubts about the realism of Jake Paul's ambitions, making it clear he doesn't see the matchup favoring Paul. He points out that even at an older age, Anthony Joshua remains in peak physical condition, maintaining speed, power, and confidence in the ring. While Paul's style may succeed against inexperienced or limited opponents, Rogan believes it would be highly ineffective against a seasoned heavyweight like Joshua. He highlights Joshua's championship experience, ring IQ, and ability to handle pressure as major advantages. Rogan also questions whether pursuing this fight benefits Paul's long-term career, warning that underestimating an opponent of Joshua's caliber could have serious consequences. Beyond physical ability, he emphasizes a psychological edge, noting that Joshua's champion mindset gives him a decisive advantage in critical moments. For Paul, facing a true elite fighter would be an unforgiving test of skill, resilience, and composure.
This is a 34-year-old Anthony Joshua. This is a terrifying human being. Terrifying. Again, a guy who survived Usyk twice. You know, you saw what Usyk did to Dubois? You see Usyk take out Dubois? Did you see that? I mean, that's the Usyk you're talking about. There's an Usyk that rocked Tyson Fury, who's fucking 6'9".
So Jake Paul's 6'1" versus 6'6" Anthony Joshua. Jake weighed in for the Tyson fight at 199. Joshua against Ngannou was 252.
6'6". Just not just 6'6", but 6'6", and knows how to use every fucking inch of it. Knows how to keep that stick in your face. He was keep that jab in his face, and that right hand, if it hits you, you're fucked. And he's not worried about you the way he's worried about Usyk. You can't move like Usyk. You can't constantly be frustrating and overloading his nervous system. Usyk is overloading every aspect of your senses at every moment. He's constantly moving, and then punches are coming, and he loops punches around your guard, and he's constantly shifting his feet, and you think he's going to be there, and he's over here, and it's like this overload of thinking. It's not a casual, relaxed fight where you can kind of move around and get your groove and he's going to stay on the outside and you're going to... No, it's just constant. He survived that guy twice. He survived, in my opinion, the most skillful heavyweight of all time. Twice. And you're going to go box him? And the toughest guy you fought before was 40 years old Anderson Silva? That was the toughest guy so far you fought? You lost to Tommy Fury, who's a very good boxer, but this is a giant Olympic gold medalist heavyweight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is fucking
Here's
terrifying.
the thing that nightmares are made of.
And he's got that one-punch nuclear power.
What's your take? Do these revelations change how you view the fight? Or is it all just speculation?